What's your fantasy? What's your fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy. What's your football fantasy? What's your fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy. What's your football fantasy? What's your fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy. What's your football fantasy? What's your fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy. What's your football fantasy? You come home after a long day, you need football in your life the TTNL way. You tap on your phone after fantasy play. Pause, not like that before you take it the wrong way. You have an idea what players to draft, then tap on the bill like genuine draft. Study all the players, look close at the stats. A QB first, then a top running back. First you hear cool Kennedy audio, then on your screen you see Jackle, and Claudio. It's a take, never lies production. They keep it fantasy with Ivan's porno production. Keepin' it fantasy, what's your football fantasy? What's your fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy, what's your football fantasy? What's your fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy, what's your football fantasy? What's your fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy, it's a football fantasy.
Yo! This is Claudio the Barber, and this is TTNL's Keepin' It Fantasy, baby. Week 8 is in the books, and the playoffs are coming up. We got a lot to talk about, so let's bring in our boys, Ivan, the man, and Jackal, the other man. We are here.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
How we doing?
Good. A lot of craziness. That was trippy, Claudio. How you got yourself to be a small little picture on the screen? I was like, what the hell is going on here?
I have no clue
It's a
how
mini
that
me.
happened.
It's a mini Claudio.
Mini C.
Happy Halloween, guys. How was your Halloween?
Yeah,
I'm a fucking killer. I'm a killer.
That's it. I was.
I went ahead and did a lot of candy inspecting. So, yeah, my daughter got like half the bag that she came home with. So, no, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, just
Oh my gosh, dude! Did you hear? Did you see, dude? Somebody in Chicago, one of the suburbs, went ahead and dropped THC gummies.
Who's giving out free weed
Are you
gummies?
serious?
Shit's that legit nowadays? You just gotta like that, huh?
Some idiot scumbag. To
Oh
be honest,
my
yeah, I
God.
think you're POS if you're doing
Of course.
that. Because the kids are gonna fucking. Anyway, like some piece of shit did it.
Keeping it fantasy.
There was no THC candies in my daughter's candy bag, but there was a lot of chocolate that I ended up,
Do you have a favorite before we get going?
Do I have a favorite? Twix. It's all in the mix.
Okay.
Dude, boom. And they had some green ones. You see the green ones they came out with for Halloween? It was like
I have not.
The cookie was green instead of.
Must be a Connecticut thing,
color.
Claudio. I'm
Must
with
be a
you.
Connecticut
We
thing.
had those.
But I'm
We
with
got
you. Twix.
cooler candies apparently over here.
How about you, Jackal? Don't say candy corn. Do not say candy corn.
Are you kidding me? Fuck.
Well, some people fucking love that shit. They put it on pizza some places in America. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
Candy
Yeah.
corn on pizza.
I think candy corn's the most disgusting thing on
It
the
is.
face of the earth, but that's just me. Anyway, guys, let's get
All
into
right.
football talk.
How we
Welcome
doing?
to the show, everybody. Welcome to Keeping It Fantasy. I know it's not Keeping It Candy. Keeping It Fantasy, Claudio, Jackal, and myself welcome you. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the network, to the channel. Guys, a lot of movement in the NFL today. Claudio, you had pointed it out. You send me the list. The list, you got Jeff Wilson, Naheem Hines. You got a bunch of guys going out. There's a lot of fantasy implications. I know the Bears got a big-time wide receiver for Justin Fields, so Justin Fields' fantasy numbers might take an uptick.
In the impact.
In the really near future. I don't know if he's going to play this week, but yeah, let's start with Jackal, because Jackal, I'm going to go ahead and give you the credit because you were talking about it last week that you had a feeling that the Bears are going to go ahead and make a move, whether it be for a DJ Moore or you even mentioned a Chase Claypool. So I'll let you take it over to start. How do you feel about Chase?
I'm excited. We did a lot of talking about. We did a little bit of talking about it last week, but we did a lot of talking about it before the show and all day through our platforms that we all communicate on. And it was just wild to see this all come to fruition for the Bears and Bears fans. We were clamoring for some weapons for our franchise quarterback, and to see polls go out and really kind of parlay Roquan Smith for a fifth round, a 31-year-old linebacker, and a 24-year-old wide receiver, and Chase Claypool. I am all for it. I think it's a great deal fantasy speaking, I think he jumps into a position where he instantly becomes our wide receiver one. In an offense that hasn't really thrown for over 200 yards a game, will you see it? Will you see an increase there? I do think you're going to see Justin get an opportunity to throw the ball downfield. I'm not saying he's going to get 6 to 8 times down the field, but I do see them taking some chances. But just with this game script and the way the lineup is or the roster shaping up, I still think they're going to try to protect him and continue to run the ball. But I still think it's great for Justin Fields. He's the biggest winner in this whole thing. But that's my take just on the trade. I think Claypool's going to get a bump. You talked about it earlier, Ivan. You grabbed him last week because someone had dropped him and you felt that possibly something may be in the works or just you were anticipating something for him and, just better fantasy production than what we've seen. So I'm excited for the Bears. I'm excited for, but more importantly, I think there's some fantasy impact here with him going to Chicago and it helps George Pickens in Pittsburgh. It opens up a spot for him to actually become the wide receiver too over there with the other guy, Deontay Johnson. And so, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Claude?
Yeah. Well, on the Pittsburgh side, I think it helps Pickens, but I think it also helps the tight end Freiermuth.
Yes.
I think that a lot of targets are going to go
call,
to him.
Claudio.
Yeah. So, but on the Bears side, I think my boy Mooney is going to get more looks. He's not going to have the number one corner on him. He's not going to get those looks. He's going to have probably some more open availability. But yeah, I'm pumped, man. I mean, this dude. I was just watching his video of some of his catches, and I was telling you guys, this dude fights for the ball, contested catches. Most of his touchdowns were contested catches in the end zone over a dude. Mossing motherfuckers. So I'm loving it.
Big body. What's he? 6'4", 2? I forget what it was.
240 or something.
6'4", 238, 240, somewhere around there. Runs a 4. Was it 4.3? 4 something about that. Yeah. Runs a sub 4.4. I know that much. But yeah, I agree with the both of you. I think the guy who benefits the most is Justin Fields. I really believe that. Darnell Mooney, absolutely, Claude. But I think Justin Fields, out of everybody, he's only had so far. I'm looking at the game so far this year. One game over 200. That's 208 against Minnesota. 1 touchdown. He was great in that game, but he's been flirting with it. The next game after that against Washington, 190, 179, kind of dropped down in the past couple weeks. But you had a great defense in Dallas, and he was able to do enough with what he had. Right, he's able to just do. He's a magician with what he has, and it's not a lot. So now you adding a big body wide receiver for him. I think it just benefits him in the long run. I mean, this year and in the future, depending on what Claypool, does for us, if he plays himself to earn, a contract extension with us later on. I know we don't have to worry about that now because he's under control. Another 2 years about?
They have him for a year and a half.
A year and a half. Okay. So we don't have to worry about that now, but I think Justin Fields touched. I know we capped it, or at least I capped it at 20 this year. I think it might go up to 25. It depending on how they're going to use Claypool out of the gate.
Yeah. And just to piggyback that, Justin Fields, fantasy speaking, has really been trending in the right direction over the last 4 weeks. I mean, this past week was arguably his best game as a pro, but fantasy speaking, he had over 26 points. He's had at least 17 points in the last 4 games. He's actually been, I want to say, top 4 fantasy QB over that span as well. So adding a guy like Claypool should help a guy like that out, right? So you could see, maybe you see a jump. I mean, if that means he's getting an extra 40 to 60 yards because he's hitting him on 2, connects with him twice a game out of 4 targets or whatever, the stats work out to be. I just think that's speaking to an increased volume for points for our guy JF1.
Yeah, I mean
it's crazy to have these conversations in Week 9 about a Bears player having that kind of fantasy impact. So it's pretty fun.
I mean, defenses have to worry obviously about our run game. We're the number 1 rushing team in the league. Yeah. We've 3 straight weeks with 200 yards.
First time since like 1969 or something.
I mean, we went against good defense. Cowboys. Yeah, 80. Yeah, I think since 84.
I think in 1984.
Yeah.
No.
3. Now it's 68.
Yeah, now it's 3. It's before then.
68.
Yeah.
Now
68. Thank you, Claudio.
Okay.
We're almost going pre-Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, the Cowboys, Patriots are good defenses, so defenses are gonna have to worry about now the past 2. So it's going to be fun to watch. But listen, there's other guys. If you guys want to touch on them real quick while we're doing this,
let's talk about a couple. You guys brought them up earlier. Go ahead, Claudio.
Yeah, well, I'll just list them and then we can, we'll talk about whichever ones we want to talk about. So Jeff Wilson went to the Dolphins. Okay, they lost Chase Edmonds, who went to the Broncos. So on the Dolphins, you got now Mostert and Wilson over there. Nyheim Hines went to the Bills.
Yes.
Who also sent Zach Moss, I believe, right? Another running back over to
Zach
the Bills,
Moss went
to the Colts. So that's something there. TJ Hawkinson went to the Vikings.
I want to stop there with TJ Hawkinson. Let's talk about TJ Hawkinson.
Yep.
Now, you don't really see an in-division trade like that, but with Irv Smith being out, I think they said 6 to 8 weeks, something significant.
Yeah.
TJ Hawkinson just elevates the Minnesota Vikings into Super Bowl contenders. And I think I really think he's going to thrive there. He, was able to do great things in Detroit with the crap that they have. So you add a somewhat decent quarterback, a system that works. You have 2 wide receivers on the outsides that can really stretch the field, but can open things up underneath for a guy like Hawkinson. And don't shy away from Hawkinson's speed. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't try. He's not like some slow ass. He could get out there and run with them. So I've been looking forward to the Vikings and TJ Hawkinson. It's fantasy wise getting a lot of points.
Yeah, I agree with you for sure. I mean, he was touted as the next Kelsey coming in. He's got all the attributes to be a really good pass catching tight end. I want to go back on to Hines. I think that's going to be huge on the Bills.
Bills wide receiver RB1 now, right?
Well, yeah, him and Singletary there, but Hines is a playmaker. He did it on the Colts.
He's a better receiver.
Explosive offense, obviously. So that could be huge for fantasy. Guys that have him are loving it. If you have him in fantasy, he's just sitting on your bench. Now he's like, okay, he might be a flex guy. But if not, if he's out there, which he is out there, to pick up and thinking like 30% of the leagues, you definitely want to try to grab him or even try to do a little trade for him. But then the last one that I don't think we said anything about was Kadarius Toney to the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. It's another one that I think maybe not immediately, but in the long run, maybe fantasy playoff time, that's definitely a guy that might start, putting up some points. He's a very athletic, fast, guy. And I won't say Tyreek Hill level, but he's up there. So I think that's the guy you want to look at.
I agree. I think there's like I said, there's a wide receiver 1 by committee over there. Yeah. The real number 1 target is Travis Kelce. Yeah, Travis Kelce is a real number 1 target in my eyes. So any wide receiver that's in there, it's like, hey, it could be your week this week. You saw Juju had a big week last week. And he's not even. It's not even guaranteed that the guy with the most targets is going to be targeted in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? You had what's his name? I forget his name. Mecole Hardman having more of the touchdowns last week.
Yeah.
So it's all depends. I think he does help him out though. I think he really adds to that. It makes him scarier. But yeah, I think it'll be still wide receiver by committee. Wide receiver 1 by committee.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys want to move on? You got anything else about the trades, guys? Or
yeah, while you were talking about Hines, I looked up a quick stat and I thought it was pretty wild. It says Hines is obviously, they say he's a better receiver than Singletary, but Hines averages 1.67 yards per route run, and over the last 3 seasons, which is the second best amongst all running backs in the NFL. Singletary averages 0.74, which is third worst. I'm sorry. So if they're going to throw the ball, if they need to throw the ball, you're going to see Hines out on the field. So it really depends on what Buffalo needs to do, because Singletary is, I think, the better rusher. But yeah, Hines could get a lot of play if they do need to throw the ball. It just depends on, what type of game they are. If they're crushing teams, obviously they're going to just be handing it off, and Singletary could be the guy there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I just thought that was kind of an interesting stat while we were, chewing the fat there on that trade. So, you guys want to talk about top performers? Where do you guys want to go?
That's exactly where I was going to go with it next. Let's talk about the studs and the duds of the week. Claudio, let's start with you. Who are your studs for the week?
So my studs for the week, sadly, is a guy that we saw firsthand rip us apart, Tony Pollard. This kid got his chance.
You called it, Claudio.
I did call it. I know. I mean, listen, that's
not
you gotta be realistic.
Guy, but,
Got to keep it 100. Our rushing defense is one of the worst. And I've always loved Tony Pollard. I got so many Cowboy fans that come to me, and I've always talked to them about
sisters
Pollard and Elliott. I'm like, Pollard just wants it more. He just seems like he's just, and he fucking took it to us. I mean, he had 37 fantasy points, 131 yards, and 3 tutties. I mean, it was obviously the big reason why they beat us. So he's definitely one of the studs. Another guy who I actually talked about last week, who I told people to pick up, Deontay Foreman. He went off 32 points. He had 68% snap share, which says he's the guy over there, and 118 yards and also 3 touchdowns. So that's another guy that it could be the rest of the season. He's going to be getting a lot of touches, and he could be putting up a lot of points for you.
No doubt.
A couple of them. What about you, Jackal? You got a couple?
I mean, shoot, if we talked about, I just like what I'm seeing out of Justin Fields right now. He's a big stud for me. 26 points, 26.0 points. I just love the game. Another day rushing over 60 yards, just doing it on the ground, in the air. I just feel, to me, he's becoming a weekly stud, fantasy relevant, blossoming into possibly, the next Jalen Hurts of the fantasy world, where just every week you almost expect that out of him. Did you talk about Derrick Henry? I don't think you did.
No,
King Henry did his thing, man. Second week in a row of over 30 carries, which is just crazy to think in today's day and age. But that equated to over 35 fantasy points, 35.8. It's kind of funny, though. He plays the Texans, guaranteed to walk all over them. He's actually gotten over 35 points the last 4 times he's played them. Just straight up manhandled these dudes. So
any running back that faces the Texans is going to have a great day.
Yeah. And King Henry has, just laid the gauntlet down, if you will. But he's also been just hammering home points for fantasy owners over the last 5 games, averaging at least 23 fantasy points. So those are a couple studs for me. I'm going to drop it down to you, Ivan.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the guy that we were talking about it in the TTNL producers or the production chat and on Facebook, Jamal Williams. He's been a godsend to me because I lost Breece Hall, so I picked him up on my team.
Okay,
he's just been consistent so far. I mean, I know they have a real stud in Swift, but he's just been consistent to me. He's been the better back by far. Let me go ahead and read off some of the numbers. Week 3 he had 22. Week 4 he had 22. He dropped off in week 5 against New England and week 7 against Dallas, but week 8 he had 19 points, and then this week he added another was it 22? Yeah, another 22 points.
Okay.
I'm looking at Jamal Williams like, man, he might be the feature back in Detroit from here on out. I think I mentioned it. I think he's going to split more time with DeAndre Swift, and it is what it is, man. The proof is in the pudding. He's doing the job that Swift isn't. So I'm going to go with Jamal Williams this week. As far as quarterback, you took Justin Fields from me, but I'm not gonna hate on it. Taylor Heineke, ever since he came back into that fold,
talked about him last week
with the Washington, definitely with the Washington Commanders, just commanded the team. He's just been the leader on the team, and he's been doing a good job. Added 22 fantasy points on his, or 23 fantasy points, for himself. 1 touchdown, 1 pick, but he was able to be mobile a little bit and get a touchdown on the ground as well. So I'm going to go with Tyler Heineke. Another guy I was going to go ahead and give props to, Marcus Mariota, had 24 points. Atlanta's
first place Falcons.
They're leading the division. Absolutely, Chris. They're leading the division, which is just shocking. We know the soap opera in Tampa Bay and what's going on there. But just Atlanta, flat out a surprise to me and to everybody else, I'm sure. But Marcus Mariota, 24 points, and he had 253 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, if you want to believe that. So I'm going to go with Marcus. Anybody else you guys got?
I mean, you talk about Deontay Foreman, right, Claudio?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
He's one of my
a monster of a day. But down in Miami, with the Dolphins, dude, I just think Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Tua, they just, granted, anything, what ails you, you got to go up and play again. You got to go play against, oh my goodness, you got to go play against, not the Bears defense. You got to go play against Detroit or the Texans or the Browns, get some teams like that and just kind of make yourself feel better. the Cowboys go, or not the Cowboys, the Dolphins go out, and Tua puts up a monster day. Waddle and Hill just, again, two guys with over 30 fantasy points as wide receivers on the same team. They're just killing it, man. And Tua, oh, ye of little faith in the offseason. You add some weapons around a guy. Look what happens. Ryan pulls. As you know, you may see like Miami 2.0 in terms of just the way they build this roster this offseason. Kind of gives me promise with what you see what's going down in Miami. And they kept the foot on the gas, just going after getting guys. You know, that was pretty wild, helping out the running back room. So there's just some other guys I wanted to throw out there. I wanted to make the Dolphins talk about, you know, hoping the Bears can mirror that kind of success.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about one more guy, a guy that I love, and I wanted him. I want us to try to trade for him, but they said they weren't going to trade him. DJ Moore, this dude went off.
Yeah, big day.
I mean, he finally had a big day. 31 points, 6 receptions, 152 yards, a touchdown. I mean, I think with PJ Walker there, with them getting rid of all these players, I think they're going to just try to, you know, they're going to ball out. The Panthers are going to try to ball out this year, the rest of the year, and just, you know, Foreman and Moore. They're going to put up some points consistently, I think, against rough defenses. So, DJ Moore, I love it. I mean, I guess he did a stupid ass penalty at the end there. Yeah, I heard about that, but you know, what are you gonna do? You don't get minus points for penalties, thankfully, in fantasy. So,
right?
Not in our leagues anyway. Not in our.
I'm sure there's a league out there that you do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt. I'm sure. Let's go ahead and switch over to our duds for the week. I'll kick it off. I'm just gonna go with one, and then you guys could, you know, call out two or whatever.
Get me back right here. I know it.
No. Dawson Knox.
Oh shit! All right.
Dawson Knox. Yeah. I'm going to read his stat line.
Early touchdown.
Been a dud all year.
2 receptions, 10 yards. 2 receptions, 10 yards.
And a touchdown.
9 points. No. Did he get a touchdown? Yeah, and the touchdown. And the touchdown. Yeah, and the 9 point. Yeah, and the touchdown. But that's not going to do it. Like, you're touchdown dependent in that offense. Like, you should be getting a lot. I don't know. Maybe it's the receiving core around him. But I felt like Dawson Knox was going to be like one of the top 5 tight ends this year, and he's been disappointing.
Oh, it's awful. 3 targets, just horrible all around. I mean, he had 49 catches and almost 600 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. I mean, the guy definitely put up some numbers and expecting big things. He has been such a disappointment. Yep. I have him on a couple of rosters. I've dropped him on one of them. You know, he was banged up. It's sad to say, but he's definitely a dud, man. He was a dud this week.
Like you said, Chris, no, he's been a dud all year. I'm going to read off his points real quick. 0.5 in week 1, 4.1 in week 2, 2.5 week 3, 4 points in week 4, bye week, 9 points in week 6, 9.7 points in week 6, 7 points against Green Bay, and then the 9 points that he had this past week. It's not enough. That's not enough. That's not enough production out of a tight end that's going to be your number 1 tight end, or people thought was going to be their number 1 tight end in fantasy coming in this year.
Tight end's been tough this year. Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't realize. Yeah, I had him in a matchup, and my buddy had texted me because he caught the touchdown, I think, on his first catch, and I was like, oh, nice. Maybe I have a good day and make the game a little closer. I look back, he had like the same amount of points at the end of the night. I was like, oh, sweet, what a day, you know? Big dud.
Who's your dud, Chris? Go ahead.
I'm gonna go with the guy that killed me. I started him. He was a low QB1 going into the matchup. Shut out against the Saints. Fucking Derek Carr, man, and the Raiders just absolutely murdered me. I think he had like 2 fantasy points just under in my league, and I paid for it deeply. I think I lost every matchup I started him in almost because of that. It just was awful all around. 101 passing yards. Not going to cut it. Obviously, no touchdowns. Just an abysmal day. Derek Carr, I mean, I'm at the point where you could probably drop him. If you're looking to stream quarterbacks at this point, I don't think you could trust that team, that offense. McDaniels is even apologizing to the media now. And the fans. It's not good in Vegas, man. I don't know. Get him better blow. I'd do something because he needs to figure the fuck out over there. Holy shit. Who do you got, Claudio?
I'm going to say on the same team. He killed me in our – yeah. I mean, he killed me in my sleeper, the TTNL league. Josh Jacobs, who's been a beast all year. I was touting him all year. The dude runs hard. I didn't get to see much of the game, but I mean, his stat line obviously is pretty abysmal.
Yeah, they were
10
down and had
rushes.
to throw.
Yeah, but he catches balls too. He only had 2 receptions, but 10 rushes, 43 yards. That was a huge dud for a lot of people, which, I mean, he's rostered in everybody's roster, so that definitely was disappointing, which is obvious. Another guy, Devontae Smith for the Chiefs. I mean, he's going against for the Eagles. I'm sorry.
Eagles.
He's going against Pittsburgh.
I picked to start him last week.
Yeah, and he was going against Pittsburgh, who was actually ranked like 31st against receivers. So
yeah.
He should have had a pretty good big game. I mean, A.J. Brown obviously went off.
He had the best day of all wide receivers.
Yeah, he did. But he only had 5 receptions, 23 yards. So that was a big dud for some people. Who you got, Ivan?
Well, I'm going to go with the same team as well. I'm going to go with Gabe Davis for the Buffalo Bills. It was just not there. I had the stat right in front of me, and I just lost it. It just wasn't there. Not productive.
Gabe Davis, you said?
Yeah, Gabe Davis. It was it was kind of a weird night for the Buffalo Bills. Like, production-wise, you didn't get it. I think he got targeted less last week than he has in the past. Didn't make some completions right out of the gate. It just had a bad way. I just lost
7 targets, 2 catches, 35 yards. And one of those catches for over 20 yards, which equated to 5.5 fantasy points.
Thank you. Because I still can't find his fucking name on this list. Anyway, Gabe Davis is going to be my
7 targets and you get 2 I mean, come on, man.
No doubt.
I'm with you.
I agree. Oh, here he goes. Yeah, 7 targets, 2 receptions, 7 targets, 35 yards. Not going to cut it. I was looking to have a big week with Gabe Davis, and the other guy that I'm going to go ahead and call a dud, and Rashad already had taken care of that. Devontae Adams and that entire
he hurt me.
That entire
the whole Raiders
team,
team
like
fucked
you said,
us off.
Yeah, like
they
said,
put up a big
Raiders
goose egg. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I was expecting Devontae to have at least 20 points. I got my ass whooped in fantasy this week. And a big part of that was because my 2 wide receivers, Gabe Davis and Devontae Adams, decided to shit the bed. I mean, the Raiders, the whole team shit the bed. But what else is new? But the Bills, I don't see an excuse. You got to get Gabe Davis the ball. Get him the ball.
They played like they were fucking around in the second half against Green Bay. It was weird. I mean, plus all the primetime games have just sucked. So I feel like the football has just been awful, man. So like, they look great in the first half. I thought everyone was going to have a huge day for the Bills. To your point, Ivan.
I thought they were going to beat the Packers by more than what they did. But
I think we wanted to also subconsciously. We were like, just beat the
no doubt.
fuck out of these assholes.
It's still nice. It's still nice to see the Packers losing
4 losses in a row, right?
Oh yeah, it's
they don't go out and get anybody.
Yeah, they all thought they were getting Claypool, but
I was watching McAfee when that shit went down, and one of the guys is a Packers fan, and he was like, "Oh, I'm glad the Bears got him. That's not someone I would have given up a 2nd round pick for. I'm just waiting to see who we spend our 2nd round pick on." And it was like, fucking.
Well, I guess they're saying that the Steelers went more with us because they thought
the pick was lower.
Their pick's going to be a better pick. So, which, who knows? We'll see.
Price of doing business, my boys.
I don't know. I think we could have a better record than the Packers, honestly. But
the way things are going.
Yep.
Anyway,
I agree.
I digress.
Let's go ahead and jump over to the waiver wire. Jackal, who do you guys got targeting this week? I know it's running thin, at least in my league, for the TTNL league. Running back is very, very thin. Is there any position other than running back that you think you could feast from, or you could pick up somebody? What do you got?
Well, I think now it's really a matter of looking at it's definitely matchups, defensive schemes. There's so many different things that come into play now, I think, as you get into the nitty-gritty with the buys. I did want to bring that up real quick. Last week, there were only 2 buys, right? This year, last week, there was 2. This week, we have 6. You got the Broncos, the Browns, Cowboys, Giants, Steelers, and Niners.
Yeah.
Plenty of fantasy studs in those teams there. So make sure you set your games. Eagles, Texans, Thursday night. Maybe see some decent football. Who knows? But I don't know. Thursday night starters. I think I started Chris Olave last week, and he got me almost 16 points, which is like the first time I've gotten double digits on someone on Thursday. Sunday night game is Titans Chiefs. Should be kind of fun. And Monday night is Roquan and his new Diggs versus the Saints down in New Orleans. So got some cool games to watch, fantasy speaking wise. So, make sure you get your lineups right. So I just want to throw those buys out there and the no international game this week, so you don't have to worry about the early one, right, Ivan? Mr. didn't put a tight end in.
Yeah,
Shit.
Big
but he did. He got it in right at the nick of time. He got it in at the nick of time.
Also, I want to
clip that.
Yeah, right.
Got it in just in the nick of time.
Right there, got it in. Just.
Oh, I said it
right
again.
In.
There we go.
Yeah, it was a rough week. Like I said, it was a rough week for me. Speaking of morning football, that game. I woke up early to watch that Broncos Jaguars game.
Okay.
I gotta go buy ESPN Plus
exactly
in order to watch this shit. You made me get. I had no clue I had to purchase another streaming service. I got up in the morning to watch because I'm dedicated to watching football and to this show. And I want to see the fantasy points being scored, and I can't see that because I got to go buy ESPN Plus to watch football. It's fucking ridiculous.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate. I wanted you to talk about it because same thing. I have Verizon. Verizon gives you like a bundle where you can get Disney Plus, Hulu, whatever. And so I never even used ESPN Plus, but I tried for like the first half I missed because I'm like trying to get on. I'm trying to find out my name. I'm calling up fucking. Verizon, it was ridiculous. So I don't know how many more games are going to be like that. That was blindsided. I had no clue it was going to be on
just the NFL, cash grabbing you. ESPN, it's all part of the plan, motherfuckers.
Yeah, it is.
So waiver wire, man. I mean, I've brought him up already a bunch, man. Justin Fields is only rostered in about 50% of leagues, which is pretty wild to me. It's just the way things are going. I just don't know how you cannot look to add a guy like that unless you have one of the top quarterbacks. But there's plenty of buys coming. It's buy season. He's a guy you could definitely look to plug in. But more importantly, he's a guy you could probably look to start. He's kind of he's the prize of the free agent class right now. I just think he's the guy you're going to want to go out and get best player probably at any position if he is available in your league based on where we are right now. He's rushed for at least 47 yards in the last 6 games, like we talked about earlier. He's just been a fantasy monster. 18 points, 19 points, 25 points, and 30 points in his last 4 games. If he throws the ball a little more, you're going to see an uptick there. I just really, really like this. I like where it's going with Justin, and he's a guy I think it's tough to find a quarterback that can put up these kind of numbers in week 4 or 5. You're getting him in week 10, 9. I'm sorry. That's huge. And I just want to throw out the guy you talked about earlier, Taylor Heineke. Low key, I love this dude. Just kind of a baller, rostered in about 25% of the leagues. He's done a very nice job stepping in for Wentz, averaging 20.5 fantasy points. So again, bye weeks. Got 6 bye weeks, some big quarterbacks that are out. If you need a guy, you might be able to sneak him in without putting a waiver claim in or $1 or $2 on the fab. You'd be all right. But those are just 2 quarterbacks to start. I want to throw it over to you guys to see what you guys are thinking on the waiver wire as we kick some guys around.
Go ahead, Claude.
Yeah. I mean, I got a couple receivers. I talked to him about him earlier in the season. The dude had a good week last week. Rondell Moore for the Cardinals. D-Hop came back, and that opened up a lot for this kid. So he had I just had it, but I know he had pretty decent game. Sorry,
who's that?
Rondell Moore. Yeah,
week 8, he had 7 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. And 8 targets.
Yeah, he had a lot of targets. He had a lot of snaps share. So definitely want to pick him up if he's still available. Which I think he is available about half the leagues, 50%. Another guy is a guy kind of a no-namer, but again on the Panthers, Terrace Marshall. He had 93% snap share. Yeah, Terrace Marshall. Yeah, he had 93% snap share over there. So he could be the number 2 in Carolina. And this week, especially with the buys, this is a guy that maybe you can get. You might not even need to put a fab in on him. Who knows? But maybe put a few bucks on him, and if you need a fill in,
9 targets.
He had 9 targets. Yeah, the guy, he's a guy that you might want to try to pick up because you're going to have to, with all those teams on buys, there's a lot of fancy players out. That means you're going to have to dig deep this week in your roster and in the waiver wire. So that could be a guy that might help you out.
Be creative.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go with a guy that we were talking about got traded, Nyheim Hines. He is available. I just had his right there. Yeah, he's available in about 49% of the leagues. He's rostered in 49% of the leagues. So if he's available, I would say go pick him up. He's going to the high-powered Buffalo Bills. I know it wasn't as high-powered as they have usually been last week, but they were able to put up a significant amount of points. I'm sure he's going to add with his ability to run and catch out of the backfield. I'm looking for big things from an Akeem Hines. They had Singletary had a decent week last week. At least, running the football and non-fantasy wise, I feel like he had a pretty solid week. But I think Nyheim Hines is going to come in there and get a lot of those big plays that Singletary really hasn't been able to go ahead and generate for them. So I'm looking for big things out of Nyheim Hines. Another guy is Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake, we talked about Gus Edwards. We talked about, how much you're going to put for Gus Edwards, because I think he's going to be a significant part of that backfield. But Kenyon Drake's making a name for himself with the Baltimore Ravens. He's available. He's available in about he's rostered in 24% of the leagues. So if you need a running back, I know I'm taking flyers on whoever. Go ahead and look at those two guys. Jamal Williams, if you haven't picked him up, I know he's rostered in over 80% of the leagues. But if you haven't picked up Jamal Williams and he's available, go do that right away.
Yeah,
Very
Kenyon
nice.
Drake, man, low-key monster. Week 6, he had 16 points against the Giants, and he had 18 points against the Giants, 16 points against Tampa in Week 8. In those two games, he averaged 8.8 yards a carry. I mean, damn, that's fucking crazy. Those are some good numbers, man. So yeah, that's a good pick. Get a back like that for that offense,
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's going to be similar to what I said, talked about Detroit with their two running backs. You're going to expect one because he's probably more talented, or he looks on paper more talented to get all the carries. But I think it's going to be more closer to 50-50 than it is going to be one guy being the feature back in both offenses. So, yeah, if you want to go ahead and stash a Kenyon Drake and see how it goes, I would suggest that. I mean, he put up points last week, and I believe he put up points like a week prior, big points a week prior. So
Week
yeah,
6 and 8, yeah.
right. So it's something to look at with Kenyon Drake.
All right. I got one more running back for you, Caleb Huntley from Atlanta.
I
Rostered.
was just gonna bring him up. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
You go ahead. So
no,
I
you brought him up.
rostered
Speak on him. It's all right.
23%. No, I just think it's kind of dependent on Cordell Patterson, right? Like if he comes back this week, I don't think he is, but there has been some chatter. But if he comes back from the IR, it may hurt him a little bit. But he had a pretty great week sharing the backfield with Tyler Algier. Thank you.
Yeah.
I did that last week. Thank you for correcting me. I should have
I
learned
got
last
you.
week. No, but he had 16 carries, 91 yards. I mean, if you found the end zone, that's even a better day. But still, something to think about. He's rostered 23%. I did mention that earlier, but he's a guy you may be able to stash too. Keep an eye on the Cordell Patterson news. But Claudio, if there's something, he
did get a touchdown too, but he's this week especially. He's actually one of my starts because he's going against the Chargers, who rank like 31st against running backs, fantasy wise. So you want to pick him up and start him this week for sure.
Right.
I think he'll have a good game. So that's a good call, Jackal.
One more guy I got for it's probably a surprise. Romeo Doubs. I mean, he's available.
Touchdown catch. I'm sorry. You're
right. He's available 47% of the league, or he's rostered in 47% of the leagues. I just feel like he's the only guy that I feel like Aaron Rodgers is comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? Or starting to gain confidence in. I think that's going to continue. I think that the connection will get better in Green Bay. I don't think that they're going to be world beaters and go ahead and run the 9 games in a row. But I think the connection is going to build there, especially with Romeo. That had a hell of a fucking catch in the end zone. That touchdown was nice. One hell of a touchdown reception. So he continues to go to him. He continues to try to make it work with him. So I think that eventually you got to love him or hate him or despise his ass. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the league trying to make it work with you. I could see it work. It's probably similar to what happened with Devontae. And I'm not calling him Devontae, but the constant comfortability with each other. It needs to be, you have to need a full season for that sometimes. And I think that's what's going to happen with Green Bay. You're going to see some more connections with Romeo Doubs and Aaron Rodgers. So I would say go ahead and pick up Doubs right now
Especially with Lazard out.
Before they blow up. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I got one more waiver wire ad because of an injury.
Talk to me, Claudio. Talk to me.
Well, Cooper Kupp got injured. Not sure how bad it's going to be. Hopefully it's not going to be too long. But in the meantime, I mean, you want to pick up Van Jefferson, I think. I mean, he's back.
Coming off injury. Yep.
Yeah, it's coming off injury. He's going to obviously get playing time with Cooper Kupp out of there. So that's another guy, just real quick, I wanted to throw out there.
Somebody also think about some guys that, speaking of that, some people dropped Allen Robinson a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's still probably rostered in a lot of leagues, but you may just want to throw his name in the search engine to see if it shows up in your league, because someone might have dropped him. And if Cooper Kupp ends up being out, I see him kind of having an increased role. Granted, he hasn't done much all year, but now more than ever, if Cooper Kupp's out, there's plenty of targets that need to kind of get dispersed. And lastly, Chase Claypool. I know we talked about him earlier. He's rostered in about 60% of leagues. As we talked about him becoming Chicago's wide receiver 1 and giving Justin an opportunity to throw down the field. I mean, he may be a guy that we worthy going to, throw out there, see how it plays out, low risk, high reward type of situation. That's just kind of something to think about. Are there any tight ends out there, guys, or any other receivers that we didn't talk about that you guys wanted to talk about?
Well, a guy that had a big week, and I don't know how likely it is he's going to have another big week, but pun intended, Isaiah Likely for Baltimore had a big week. He had 19 points. He had six receptions on 7 targets, 77 yards, 1 touchdown. I think, I'm not saying that, Mark Andrews is done, but if they're going to find production out of another tight end, why not use him? Why, what I'm saying? Why not use him?
Ankle's bad. Yeah.
Right. So I would
shoulder. Sorry.
Yeah. I would say maybe take a look at a guy like that. Other than that, I mean, I'm Claude, you got anybody else?
Ravens have a bye week 10. So the chances are they may sit Andrews again this week. So just speaking on likely getting an opportunity, Ivan, I think there speaks to if you can go grab him. Rostered in about 99% of the league right now, 9% of leagues. So, Ivan, that's not a bad call. Got a tough matchup.
Okay, Jason, you were right. The Cowboys shut us down. They got David Montgomery to fumble. It was a bad week. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. But yeah, it's just a rough one for the Bears. So we'll see.
Yeah.
You want to take some questions?
Yeah. Any other tight ends, guys? Anybody? There's no
one. Claude, you got a tight end?
No, not off the top of my head. I mean,
Evan Ingram.
No.
Evan Ingram.
Oh, Evan. Yes, that's a great
Tyler
one.
Conklin.
Right. Evan Ingram's a good one.
Cade Otton. Foster Moreau.
Mike Gesicki is still out, available in 60, or he's rostered in 66% of the league. So, I mean, that might be somebody to take a look at. Greg Dolch.
Yep.
You might. I don't know how well how the Broncos offense will fare after this past game. I mean, they had their highest output, 20-some points.
I think with the injuries to Irv Smith and David Njoku, you could probably drop both of those guys also. I just think based on how they're looking in terms of what you need, based on their injuries, how long they're going to be out, those are some guys that instead of carrying 2 tight ends on your roster, if you don't have an IR spot, you probably could afford to drop those guys. It may hurt to do that, but I think in the long run, it's going to benefit you because you're going to be able to replace those injured guys with more fantasy points.
Well, I'll bring up the tight end. If you want to talk about tight ends, another guy, if Taysom Hill is still out there, you have to pick him up and put him in your tight end if you don't have a good tight end. This dude runs, passes, catches at almost every game. So I would get him
last week.
It's a good question from Matthew Carsonson. He's asking.
Yeah, no, I do. No, Matt, I do not. And I don't think I ever did actually, but
squishy.
Wait a second.
Squishy.
I'm so confused.
Taysom Hill.
10. What is that? He had 10 attempts, 61 yards rushing. Damn.
Love drunk cars.
Yeah,
you always tell his drunk cars. Just by some of the comments that he puts.
Or edible cars. Depends on what bag he's into.
Yeah, Taysom
Bangle.
Hill might not always get 40 points. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to always throw for or whatever he did that game. But he's okay. He's a solid player. I'm just not going to put him on my team right now.
Nah.
Well, I mean, again, we're talking about tight ends, so you only have maybe.
He's had 2 weeks
4 or
where he's
5.
gotten over. Hold on, let's see here.
I mean, you only have so many, tight ends that are going to consistently put up points. I mean, I'm right. Okay, ready? Right now, as the season starts, right now, he is the 4th highest scoring tight end for the season. Only Kelsey, Andrews, and Zach Ertz are ahead of him. So,
and he's only got 3 games of double-digit points, and one of those being 34 points in one game, the other 2 being 10 points.
But that's the thing. My
points.
point is that as a tight end, there's not many guys out there that could have that ability to put up that many points
on 4 catches.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It is
4 catches,
and he could also throw a fucking 60-yard touchdown. How many tight ends could do that? So
that's fucking.
That
wild.
was my point. My point is, if he's out
no,
there,
you're right.
Because he's only rostered 65%. It says on Sleeper, so that means he could be out there for you. So
yeah,
you want to talk about tight end that's out there, you might want to pick up and Taysom Hill. I think is a guy.
All right.
I like it.
Any more? You guys want to take the questions now?
You guys got any starting sits, or what do you want to do?
We'll do whatever you guys want to do. We'll
start sits. All right, let's do the starting sits. Let's do the starting.
Then we
sits.
get our once we get this going, we get our questions. You know what I mean? Because that's what our questions are all about. So I'm curious what you guys think. Ivan, Claudio, who wants to go first on the starting sits?
Go ahead, Claudio, kick it off.
Well, we talked about a couple of the guys I had written down here. Like I said, Caleb Huntley. I think is a great start this week against the Chargers. Yeah, Atlanta running back against the Chargers. I like Romeo Doubs, also another guy that we talked about. I think he's going against Detroit, who obviously is a very porous defense, and I think it's going to be a get right game for the Packers. Sadly, I think they're going to come out and it's against Detroit. I think they're going to come out and ball out. So Romeo Doubs is a guy you might want in your lineup, and again Rondale Moore, versus Chargers, another rough team. You always want to look at the matchups. So if you got a team that's porous against certain positions, you want to try to, pick up and start somebody that's going against them. And I think Rondale Moore, again, like I said before, is going to be like a Christian Kirk type player in the slot, for the Cardinals. And again, with Hopkins there now, it just has a lot more opportunity for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's solid for me. I'm going to go ahead and pick Justin Fields. One of my guys is going to be Justin Fields to start. I'm looking for him to continue to grow. And depending on if Chase Claypool starts or not, I don't think that's going to matter. I think Justin's going to continue to grow right in front of our eyes. I think he has a solid game against the Miami Dolphins. I'll say fantasy-wise, I say he gets you plus 20 points. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and start Justin Fields for this week. Another guy I'm going to go ahead and start is probably going to be one of the running backs, not Gainwell, Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders against the Texans. I think, the running backs for the Eagles haven't really been, outstanding, but the Texans are like that cure-all where you could get right real quick as a running back, and I think that's going to benefit them this week. Chris, you got somebody?
I got a couple of dudes. I think, Claudio talked about this last week. Travis Etienne Jr., man. I think he's a dude. Yeah. Granted, Jaguars have lost 5 games in a row, but he has definitely been the bright spot. Trevor Lawrence has kind of pained us as fantasy owners, but last week against the Broncos, he had a career high in rushing attempts, 24 carries, 156 yards. Now he's coming up against a Las Vegas defense is giving up 367 yards per game this season of total offense. I just think you're going to see him put up a good number, just like Kamara did. I think you're going to just see Etienne eat pretty well. That speaks to Trevor Lawrence's matchup against the Raiders also. I just think, he's kind of hurt us, but he's still averaging, 15.5 fantasy points on the year, which is surprising as bad as up and down as he's been. It's just shown that he's had some really good highs. He's had some lows. But, and I'm just going to piggyback Claudio's point with respects to one of your starts, Aaron Rodgers. As much as I hate to say it, get right game. You got Detroit coming in. He's a dude that has been pretty shitty, but Tua got a chance to come in against Detroit and looked phenomenal. Not saying that he hasn't looked good all year, but I just think this is one of those opportunities where not only do the Packers need a win, but they need to demonstrate the chemistry on the field. And the only way to do it is on Sunday against the Detroit Lions. You know, you get those game reps, but I mean, you get to work in the practice. But if they're going to make some stuff happen, you may see Romeo Doubs get a ton of targets, really trying to work on the stuff that you were trying to talk about, Claudio, earlier alluded to when you were making the conversation about, you know, building that chemistry. This is kind of how it happens. Detroit would be a great opportunity for him to get like 11 targets. So I just think that speaks for a good day for Aaron Rodgers. Couple of starts right there on the quarterback side for me. I'll save some room for the rest of you guys at the table. What do you guys got for starts anymore?
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm going to say, I'm going to got Geno Smith. I don't think that train is going to end. I think the Seahawks.
I'm with you.
The Seahawks continue to find ways to win, surprising 5-3. I think against this Arizona Cardinals defense, who's ranked 26 right now, I think Geno Smith finds a way. DK is going to be hurt, but he's been consistent all year. I think Geno Smith has a good day against a bad Arizona Cardinals defense.
Yeah, I like that. I like Geno. He's pleasantly surprised. They're all about him in Seattle. I think he gets a low key shorter term deal, like a 3-year deal in Seattle, like, you know, big signing bonus or something. But I'm excited for him, man. Get some more weapons out there. They're obviously the Kenneth Walker and the boys
got weapons,
you know,
galore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
you know,
DK,
Metcalf back, and you know, just it'll be. I wanted to get that. They lost the one running back, and they like that 2 running back kind of.
Rashad Penny.
Yeah, you know, they're gonna go out and either hopefully he comes back healthy next year, or they go out and get somebody. Who knows?
I don't know. Walker's a baller, dude.
Yeah, oh no, I like
Walker's
him.
a baller.
I do like him. But in
That kid-
today's
that kid
day and
can
age, there
run.
aren't many bell cow running backs. And if you're trying to get longevity out of these guys and then protect your investment, you're going to try to get a Khalil Herbert to your David Montgomery, if you will.
I agree.
You know.
I agree. I don't want to put me as a coach. I wouldn't want to put the entire weight of the running game on one guy. Even if it is Kenneth Walker and he's having a great year, you got to get him some help.
Yeah, unless you're the Raiders and you're trying to destroy Josh Jacobs for
Which they
2023 and just give him 75 carries every 2 games. You know what I mean? But I hear you. What about, speaking of like guys getting hurt and not playing well, what do you guys got for sits going on right now?
Well, go ahead, Claude.
Well, I mean, I'll bring up another running back that the whole team is really struggling on the Buccaneers, but Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
I would sit him versus the Rams. They've been pretty stout against the run, and again, Bucs offense has just been in shambles. Brady obviously not doing it, and so defenses are not worried as much, I guess, about Brady, and they're stopping the run. Fournette has not been.
Their line is horrible.
Yeah.
Rashad White may be a guy to pick up though, because I do agree with you, Claudio, with respects to Fournette. You know, Rashad White's probably rostered in about 60% of the leagues, but you know, he's a guy that if Fournette continues to kind of, you could try.
He's only had 17 carries the last 2 weeks combined.
I got
8 carries and a 9 carries.
I gotta clip that sound. That's
Do it again.
50,
do it again. Do it again.
That's great. That's
pretty solid.
53-44. No, but you know, speaking of, hey, I'm going to piggyback that again, Claudio. My sit was Tom Brady. You know, at the quarterback. I think, you know, with the Raiders, you know, going against the Rams, Tom Brady probably wishes he probably stayed home. Did not strap him up this year, but unfortunately, you know, he's getting paid handsomely to do what he's doing. He's averaging 15.27 fantasy points a game. That puts him at QB 20. That's just not Tom Brady-esque. Does not get any better against the Rams. Gave up 31.48 fantasy points in week 1. Since then, they have pretty much dominated, allowing only 14 fantasy points once in the next 6 games. So it does not look good for our boy TB12. Sit on his avocado ice cream, cool off the nuts, and, you know, because apparently that's all he's going to be doing in the offseason is bang until his heart's content, because now he's a single man. But anyway, I digress. Back to football. What do you got for some sits?
I'm gonna go with a surprising one in this Bills and Jets game. I'm actually gonna go ahead and sit Stephon Diggs. I think
that's a
that
big
Jets.
sit.
I got to put my nuts out there sometimes. You got to just go ahead and just let
You
them hang.
fucking just did, boy.
I'm gonna go do that. I think that the Jets defense surprises us, and I think that they steal the win from the Buffalo Bills this weekend. I think that their pressure gets to Josh Allen. I think their secondary is able to keep Stephon and Gabe Davis from getting over the top and getting a big play on them. I'm looking for them to have a big week. I told you about the Jets. I felt good about the Jets against the Packers. I feel that same way against the Bills. I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs to sit this week. Another guy I'm going to go ahead and sit is Chris Olave against the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know if Roquan's going to be playing for them, but I think that defense for the Ravens has been gaining momentum, and I think that they're going to be able to contain a Chris Olave against the Saints this week. What is it? Monday night, the Monday night game. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll throw another receiver out there.
Surprised, Ivan. You surprised me with that one.
Yeah,
Just saying. I'm looking at his fantasy numbers, and I'm like, 23 points.
I mean, listen, that's a big set.
I know.
But it happens every week. But listen, it happens every week.
Fucking told you so.
Our duds are usually filled with guys that are rostered, on everybody's team. So it obviously can happen. So it's a great call. I mean, we'll see next week.
We'll see if it's a great call.
We'll see if it's a great call.
It's a ballsy call. It's a ballsy call. We'll see if it's a great call.
It's all right. We're definitely not right all the time for sure.
Not everyone hits dingers, right? Every swing, right? You can't do it every swing, right?
No.
Sometimes you ground out hard to the pitcher.
Let's take steroids.
Your head grows like this big, like BB. And,
yeah.
Hey.
Jacoby Myers for the Patriots, I think is going to get shut down. You might want to sit him.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a good couple weeks but going against the Colts, who are really stout against the pass, against receivers, second against receivers in fantasy points. So you might want to sit him this week.
Okay.
So yeah, and plus they got some issues at quarterback too over there. So
some crazy guys you could probably drop too if you're thinking about just some wide receivers, as we talked about, some like Drake London. He's a guy that has sat on my bench in our dynasty, in our league here, the TTNL league, and it's just I won't play him. And they just don't pass the ball, and so in Atlanta, so it's like it's killing me. I mean, Curtis Samuel, Hunter Renfrow, Marquise Goodwin, some guys that you could probably think about dropping too. I'm just surprised by some of those names, but just the production is too inconsistent, and you're better off streaming at this point. Probably saving those, keeping those roster spots available for swing players, buy players, trying to make a trade, whatever it is. It's pretty nuts, but I'm hoping we get Keenan Allen back. I'd love to see Michael Thomas back. There's some guys that are out. I'm hoping that Cooper Kupp isn't hurt. Jamar Chase, love to get him back, but he's going to be out a while. Joe Burrow is just painful to watch right now without his number one receiver. Their line is abysmal. I'm hoping he doesn't get hurt. But there's a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of meat on the bone out there for fantasy guys. You just got to really kind of put in the work right now. You got about an hour before the deadline. I love your Rondale Moore pick too, Claude. I think that's huge. Who I thought you were going to say was Darnell Mooney. I thought you were going to bring him up. I thought he was a guy.
To start,
Never.
No, I'm just saying in general, when we were talking about like the waiver wire.
I have a quota. I can only bring him up.
Oh, all right. Times. So I'll help you.
Yeah, it's in my contract. I signed it, and I got to abide by that. So.
All right. Any other sits while we kind of kick it around and maybe shoot it over to some questions?
Yeah. I was thinking about sitting a guy like Christian Kirk. I feel like the Raiders are going to bounce back, but I don't know. He's been pretty consistent this year. I just for some reason I got a bad feeling about that Raiders Jaguars game. Don't hold it against me, but I'll say maybe a guy like Christian Kirk might take a.
He was a sit for me last week, and it was a good call. Because Denver shut him down. He didn't do too much. So you could be right 2 weeks in a row. So you guys want to do some questions here?
Yes,
let's
a couple.
Wrap up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What we got here? We got a couple here. Let's see. Oh yeah, this one. Bob had one. Half point PPR, picking 2. Higgins, Juju, Keenan, or Lockett.
I want to go with Tyler Lockett, and I'll go with T. Higgins in this one. I think Lockett's going to get a lot of targets with DK out, and I think T. Higgins, obviously with Jamar out, will be targeted by like he was with Joe Burrow. So with Juju, like I said in KC, it's wide receiver 1 by committee. If you get the ball, you get the ball. Keenan Allen, I don't trust the Chargers. I don't trust the Chargers are like so two-faced. You know,
the fact that Michael Williams is out, I think you're going to want to start Keenan Allen. He's sat out so long. He's got to be healthy. They're coming off a bye.
He's not, though. That's the thing. He's not fully healthy.
Well, they're coming off a bye. They sat him out. They said he played the week before.
Yeah, but he left early. His hamstring.
Yes, and I think they
he didn't practice coming. He didn't practice yesterday.
Yep.
Trust me, I want him. I got him on 2 of my teams.
Me too.
So I hope you're right. Because if he starts, I'm going to put him in my lineup. But
I like T. Higgins.
It's just frustrating with him. I mean, we'll put it back up because let me see. My opinion, I agree with you. I think Higgins and Tyler Lockett is the play there because you got Higgins going against Carolina, who's Higgins going against Carolina, right? And Tyler Lockett. Yeah, I would go with those two. I agree.
All right, T. Higgins on Lockett?
Yeah, yep.
Well, Jackal has Allen and Higgins, right?
Yeah, I like T. Higgins. He's been mildly inconsistent, but at the same time, I think he's a dude. I just without Chase, he got to go with him. And I'm just maybe it's wishful thinking, but I'd like to think if Keenan Allen's out there and he's healthy, he's going to put up some points. So that's where I'm there. But I could see Tyler Lockett. He put up the same amount of points he put up 2 more fantasy points than T. Higgins did last week. So on more targets and more catches. So, you don't know. You could be right. Yeah. It's not a bad choice. You can't go really wrong. I just think Juju Smith, he had a couple good weeks, but they brought in Tony. I think things could shift. And like you talked about earlier, Claudio and I, like we talked about earlier, guys, like, it could be anybody's ball that day, anybody's big game. So it's just tough to nail down. So
yeah, true. We had another question that was about. Oh, this one. This is more about just teams. Who scores the most points this week? Least. I don't know. I think the Texans against the Eagles. I think you could say it's probably going to score the least. Eagles are just, flying on both sides of the ball, especially on defense. So I wouldn't trust too much of the Texans, but so
one that I think could get pretty high would be that Seahawks Cardinals game. You still have a talent. Yep. You still have a talent in Kyler Murray. 2 teams that really know each other, but their defense. I mean, the Seattle defense is not as good as well. But you got 2 bad defenses. You got pretty athletic quarterbacks. Well, Geno's not too athletic now; he's a little older. But you got an athletic quarterback in Kyler. You got Geno, who's having the best year of his life. I think that one might be a surprise, high-scoring game.
Well, before we get to that, we got to address Ace Daniels. Where's Phil and Shane? Well, they don't do fantasy football.
What show is this?
Yeah, we're on
fantasy.
Yeah, this is Tuesday night, and this is Keeping It Fantasy. So
appreciate it, Ace.
Yeah. So
thank you, Ace.
Shane. Tomorrow night, you'll see all the Phil and Shane you want, for sure. So, all right, here we go. That's a good one.
Brian Robinson Jr.
Who would you guys rather drop for Kenyon Drake, Carter or Brian Robinson Jr.? I agree. Yeah, Brian Robinson.
Yeah,
Jr.
I think that's a consensus.
Yeah. There was another one. I like trades. I love trade talk.
Carter's a sit for
I'm in a trade talk in one of my leagues.
I just traded for Fields in my Dynasty League yesterday before the trade. My buddy hit me up today, and he was like, man, I should have waited till the deadline to see what the Bears did. I traded a 3rd round in this 2023, a 3rd round in 2024, and a 3rd round in 2025. I thought I made out in the deal.
Nice.
So and then, there were players. I've been trying to get him all year, and finally he needs draft picks, and it worked out. I was surprised. So
That's
for
cool.
me.
See, I've never
Yeah.
been in a dynasty league. I want to get in one, but I'm in a league that's an auction league, and you have money, for the draft. So I don't know if we can trade and add money, So like he has to give me some of his money. So I threw him an offer because he wanted AJ Brown, and I'm like, all right, I'll give you AJ Brown and Najee Harris for Kenneth Walker, Pickens, and $30. Because you only have $200 for the whole thing.
Okay.
So he's talking to the commissioner to see if we can do that. So that would be
wow. All right.
Pickens,
that's a good pick. I mean, you could expect big things from him with that. Expect big things from him now with the getting Claypool
yeah, I
out
hope
of there.
so.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I'm kind of out of it in that league, so
Hey, you got to make your own luck.
Give me
man.
some
I'm a
money
big
for
believer in
next-
that. You got to make trades to make your own luck in fantasy. It
He's
really
right.
is. And your trade deadline should be coming up soon. So if you're normally they coincide with the NFL trade deadline. So make sure you get ahead of that before you try go to make a trade and you're like, oh shit, that deadline was last night. So get your trades in,
Good reminder.
get your fabs in, get your waiver wires in, get your shit, get together because it's money winning time. This is where the bread's made. You're either in it or you're out at this point, or
got
you're
9 more
you're
games.
knocking on the door, and it's
you got
bad.
about 4 or 5 games until playoffs start rolling around, right?
Yeah. Depending on your league, yeah.
So let's talk about this trade here by Mac. So Tua, Juju, and Pittman for Josh Allen. I mean, so you'll be getting Josh Allen.
Depends on what you look like, but
exactly.
Positions
I mean, 3 players for 1, and 2. I mean, you're getting Tua. I mean, Allen might consistently put up more points, but obviously Tua could ball out.
It's a hard no for me.
So you wouldn't do the trade to get Josh Allen?
I would need Juju. Like you would have to switch. Like if you're gonna give me Tua, okay, fine. But I would need another playmaker in that trade for a Josh. You're talking about a guy that could score 50 points in any given week for you. Can have could throw for 300, 400 yards and rush for 100 and something yards at the same time. So I'm a big Josh Allen guy. So I would stay away from that. Like it would have to be a healthy, hearty trade. Not that trade, but it would have to be a really significant trade for me to get rid of Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. It's hard. I mean, Josh Allen puts up some monster numbers, right? It's pretty much it's hard to go against. Two. It just depends on what you have in your lineup. If you have shitty at running back or you're shitty at receiver, it sounds like if you're contemplating that deal, is Tua and Pittman or is Juju and Pittman going to be the end all be all?
I would look on their team and see what other better receivers they have. Throw out. I would say throw out Juju. I mean,
Josh Allen's QB1, right? For fantasy.
So I would throw out Juju and see if you get a better receiver from him.
Yeah, I would make
those
that
two
trade.
players. Depends on who they are, but it's hard to say without knowing the whole situation. So yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Not bad. No, good.
No, I was just going to throw this up. El Nino was asking about. We definitely talked about Claypool because there's fantasy relevance, obviously.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to talk about it tomorrow night a lot. But I mean, if you guys want to speak on this real quick, I mean,
wrap it up with Claypool talk, or
wrap it up. I mean, I mean, do we think we gave up too much? I personally definitely do not. I think Roquan was probably not going to come back to us. So we pretty much gave up a half a year with him, and we got, Claypool and a 5th rounder and that kid AJ Klein, right? Because we also got him in the deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we needed a wide receiver, big time wide receiver to help our offense and to help Justin Fields for the future. This trade was a looking a bigger picture. This isn't like this.
Every move they're making now.
Yes,
is for a
exactly.
picture.
I mean, listen. Obviously, do we all want to go to the Super Bowl every fucking year? Of course we do, but that's not going to happen this year for the Bears. So Poles is doing what he said he's going to do, and he wants to be the king of the North, and he's setting it up for us to be the king of the North because we have tons of draft picks and we got tons of cap for next year. So I like it. Roquan was good, but he didn't make those big impact plays like you know, a $23 million linebacker that he wanted should be making. You know, so I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think Matt could find a flex and a receiver too on the waiver wire, but
Get Rondell Moore.
yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You got to
There you
know who's. Yeah,
I do
who's
like the
available,
stack
really.
though. I do like the Tua Hill stack, but
Mhm.
it's still, you know, you got. Is that worth what you're giving up, Josh Allen?
Right.
I don't know. I love
Anyway,
the
back.
Claypool trade. Yeah, real quick. Go ahead, Kyvan.
No, you start, Jack.
No, I'm just going to say a guy this year who hasn't really had the best year, but he's had 50 targets, 32 catches, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know, he's averaging 10 fantasy points a game. So that's not a bad thing. You're going to see that increase on the fantasy side. I think just with respects to the Bears, this is a move I think that just shows that Poles has his finger on the pulse of what this team needs to do in an effort to improve sooner than later. You can't waste Justin Fields' rookie contract. Having a quarterback on a rookie deal in today's NFL is a modern marvel. It's something that doesn't necessarily happen that often because it's hard to nail that rookie quarterback right in the draft. So you want to take advantage when you're paying a guy on a rookie salary. So you have the ability next year to really load up. I just think all the signs point to a beautiful rebuild. Chicago is a destination, in my opinion, for free agency. I think this is something where you are going to see a lot of players take meetings with the Bears, and I think the Bears could see a quicker turnaround than anticipated with the way that Poles is shaping things up. I hope we don't have too many draft picks going into the draft. There's living in New England, Bill Belichick and all these draft picks. He misses on a lot of fucking picks, man. And so I hope that they're able to get a good number of picks and take advantage of that and leverage multiple picks to move up as opposed to not always just gaining more and more. But if you want to move them for later on down the road, down the years, kick the can down the road, I'm cool with that too. But I'm just saying I like where we're going. We used the pick already for a player that's going to help us now and next year. So I'm all on board for this trade.
Yeah, Jackal was all over it last week, so you got to give him props for his thoughts on what the Bears might do, and they actually just went out and did it. If you are a patron, but first of all, if you're not a patron, make sure you go ahead and sign up for our patron channel. It's real easy. Just go to www.thetapeneverlies.com and you'll get linked right to their patron site. Become a patron. It's not that expensive and worth it. But if you were listening to what me, Cars, and DDP were talking about, Cars, so we're saying it perfect. Like first of all, it makes Justin better. It reinforces the commitment to Justin Fields, and then it slots everybody down into a position that benefits them, like Mooney being able to come out of the slot now instead of being that number one guy and being, kind of like over depended on by Justin, because there's some times where I was like, man, I feel like Justin's just forcing it to Mooney a little bit, but who else does he have? Am I right? Like, who else can he really try to just force the ball to besides Darnell Mooney? I think it just, like Cars was saying, it just alleviates a lot of the extra shit that everybody else has to do and makes it easier for not only the receiving core, the tight ends, the running backs. Justin Fields being the number one guy, it's going to help out. So I'm all for it. I'm happy about it. I don't think it was an overpay whatsoever. You got a kid that's under your control for a year and a half now. He's got big upsides. Been making plays before with a guy that's going to go probably be in the Hall of Fame in Ben Roethlisberger. It's a win-win-win for me for the Bears. Like I love the trade. I'm excited. I hope he plays this weekend, but I don't know if that's going to be feasible.
A couple packages, couple schemes or something.
Yeah,
maybe,
hopefully. Yeah.
So let's play a quick little game with Claypool. So fantasy wise, stats wise, he's got 9 games, so including this week. But what do you think yards and touchdowns for the rest of the year for Claypool?
Wow. Okay, go ahead, Ivan.
Man, it's tough. I'm going to stay consistent with what he's been doing in his career. I'll say he gets 600 yards for the rest of the year, and I'll give him
900 total yards.
900 total.
Okay,
and I'll give him 5 touchdowns.
Okay,
5 touchdowns from Justin. So yeah, not too big on the touchdowns, but he was in Pittsburgh where they had a QB situation But yeah, 600. Yes, 600 and 5 touchdowns for the rest of the year for Chase Claypool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was actually 5 touchdowns was I was thinking too.
Okay.
Because you figure this week you might not play much, but I think you would think so. 8 games, he'll play for most of the games. So I say 5 and 500 yards, a little less. But he's a big play guy, so he might only have 3 catches one game, but he'll have 50 yards, 60 yards, and one of them a touchdown. So because we're going to run the ball, obviously, we're still going to run them. We're not going to be this crazy passing team all of a sudden. But he's just going to help us, like you guys said. Like Ivan, you and DDP and Cars were just saying, it's definitely going to help everybody down to the running game, everything. So yeah, 505 touchdowns.
Okay.
What do you think, Jackal?
I'm gonna take the over on both since you guys are similar. I'm gonna say he's gonna get to 1,000 yards receiving, so just over 700 yards.
Nice.
And I'll say he gets. You guys both said 5 touchdowns. I will, just for the sake of argument, I'm gonna say 6. So he's gonna go over. That's also probably a little homerism, wishful thinking, but I also think Getsy. There's a reason they went out and got him. They're going to use him. They're good. They got to see. They need to figure out if they're going to pay this man. And speaking of paying him, I think also with kind of his up and down success in Pittsburgh, it's just going to help negotiate and maybe keep his price tag down a little lower. Just because he didn't dominate consistently, had a great rookie year, fell off a little bit towards the end. When Mapletron came out and all that shit, but at the same time, he's got the skills to pay the bills, and I think it's just I'm seeing 1,000 catches or 1,000 yards, 7 TDs or 6 TDs, and nothing but hopefully roses between Fields and Claypool.
Nice. Listen, do you guys want to tackle this real quick?
Yes, I saw it. Might as well. Yeah,
might as well. Okay, so this guy says his team is Hurts, Dalvin Cook, I would think, Alvin Kamara, Travis Etienne, Gibson, Derrick Henry.
Fuck?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, he has no receivers, but
no,
you have Darren Waller.
He has D-Hop. He has Amon-Ra.
Yeah, but you got D-Hop like 6th or 7th round.
I mean, listen, any trade ideas? Obviously, you're stacked at running back. I would try to trade. I mean,
this is who he just traded.
He just got Henry, and he got rid of Terry, McLaurin, Lockett, and Foreman for Henry, which is great. I mean, the only trade I would do is
nothing
out of those running backs. If you want to try to trade one to get another better receiver, better than Pittman, but I don't know, man.
I'll tell you what I would do.
That's crazy.
No.
I'll tell you what I'd do. I would drop Pacheco and just pick up another wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need Pacheco.
Ivan, you literally took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. But if you're going to trade, again, out of those running backs, okay, just saying he wants to trade, obviously you're going to trade one of the running backs for a receiver. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, I would maybe try to trade. I would keep Henry and keep Etienne, because you're not going to get as much for Etienne. But out of Cook and Kamara, my personal opinion is pick one of them, try to get a decent number 1 receiver in return, because you're stacked at running back. I mean,
drop Pacheco and pick up Claypool. Do it.
There you go.
Well, if he's there, yeah, of course.
Or if you want to, because I know the question is for a trade, but if you really want to trade, like Claude said and Jackal said, go look at your top 2 running backs, or besides Henry, look at Kamara.
Or trade Henry. Get whoever you want.
Well, he just traded for him.
Yeah, he just traded for. I think you trade a Cook or a Kamara, or I think the best bet is like me and Jackal were thinking, drop Pacheco, pick up a wide receiver, dog.
I was gonna say Rondell Moore, but he's got D-Hop, so you don't want to have both wide receivers.
You got a solid team, man. Waller, Taysom Hill. You got.
I would ride that out, man. Look at you're probably gonna finish okay, man.
Yeah. So let us know what happens.
4-team league. That's a crazy ass team.
Slurpee.
Nice trade though. That's a pretty good Lockett for Henry.
So he had Lockett with those receivers. Yeah, you did.
Trade Kamara for AJ Brown.
Trade Kamara, sell high. Yeah, Logan says trade Kamara, sell high. I mean, if you can
get
an
Eagle. You got Jalen Hurts. Go get.
You could try to get AJ Brown.
Get the stack with Jalen Hurts.
Try somehow to get AJ Brown.
Go Kamara and Gibson for freaking whatchamacallit.
Who?
Kamara and Gibson for the dude I was just talking about, the receiver.
AJ Brown.
Thank you, Jesus.
AJ Brown.
Edibles kicked in. Boom. Whoop. Right at one moment.
On that note, guys, let's go ahead and wrap for the night. I thought it was a fucking fantastic show. You guys are awesome as always. Each and every week, me, Claudio, and Jackal bringing you the fantasy news that you want to hear. Before we take off, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to The Tape Never Lies on YouTube, Facebook. And also, remember, if you want more breakdown, you want the pop-up shows, Cars Keys, you want Kramer's Coaches QB School, you want more TTNL stuff, make sure you become a patron at thetapeneverlies.com. Link you right to our Patreon channel, and you could go from there. But for Jackal, for Claudio, I'm Ivan Vargas. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.
What's your fantasy? What's your fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy. What's your football fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy. What's your football fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy. What's your football fantasy? What's your fantasy? Keepin' it fantasy. What's your football fantasy? You come home after a long day, you need football in your life the TTNL way. You tap on your phone at the fantasy play. Pause, not like that before you take it the wrong way. You have an idea what players to draft. Then tap on a beer like genuine draft. Study all the players, look close at the stats. A QB first, then a top running back. First you hear Cool Kennedy audio, then on your screen you see Jackal, Ivan, and Claudio. It's a Tape Never Lies production. They keep it fantasy with Ivan's porno production. Keepin' it fantasy.